blessed us with. You have given it to us as an opportunity to come together and worship and praise you. As we seek to bring you praise this day, may you enable us to hear you speaking back to us in this time of worship. May you speak to us through the words of a friend, the words read and proclaimed, through the songs that we sing. May we hear your message that challenges us to be faithful people in all things. Holy God, speak to us, for truly your servants listen. You know it's been a long week when you get to the end of the week and you look back over everything and you feel like the best thing that's happened this week is the first floor of the education building flooding. Someone teasingly said to me after the first service, maybe you should just look ahead at your sermon titles if you can know what's going to happen in your life. I have always felt that way. While I've never been a Presbyterian, there is a part of me sometimes that thinks, maybe Calvin had it right when he said there are some who are destined to be saved and some who are destined to be damned, and both are to the glory of God. I'll give you a hint of what group I feel like I'm in this week. But in the midst of all of it, the thing that it has challenged me with is to think once again about faith. In part because of this passage, in part just because of life. This passage is one that's always been a favorite of mine. That idea that we have been crucified with Christ, that no longer do we live, but Christ himself lives within me. This life I now live in the body, I live by faith. That's kind of where it's at for me right now, living by faith. Because when I look at the reality of the world around me, there's a lot that would seem to, go counter to goodness and light and happiness and all those things that I normally believe in. It just seems like this is one of those times where faith has to be, the beginning, the end, and all of the in-between. In fact, I know you won't really be able to see this. I usually have this on my door. I haven't made it to the door of my office yet. My sister gave me this when I was a teenager. And it's a picture of a kitty cat hanging on to the handle of a basket. And the caption says, "Faith isn't faith until it's all you're holding on to." Those words have come back to me this week in relationship to this passage. Because it says we live our life by faith. Faith in that Christ who was crucified for us. Faith in that Christ who now resides in me. I mean, what is faith? It's believing and trusting and hoping in something that we can't really see, that's intangible, that we trust is there, we hope is there, but, I can't hold it up to you like I can hold up the music stand and say, this is what faith looks like. It's like that kindergarten class in Sunday school was given the task of drawing a picture of what God would look like. And the one little boy, when asked, how does anybody, when the teacher asked them, to consider, how do people know what God looks like? And the one little boy said, well, they may not have known before, but they will know when I'm done. Because they can see it. I'll have a picture. And I'll be able to show them, this is who God is. All the way back in the Old Testament, this guy named Abram heard a voice talking to him one day. You should know that that's probably the start of a very interesting day. A voice calling to him, saying, hey, come and follow me. Come from where you are to this far-off land. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your wife, and I will give you the opportunity that as we covenant together to be, you'll be my people and I'll be your God, that eventually your descendants will be more numerous than all the sands and all the stars. That's a lot of people. Imagine having them over for dinner on Sunday afternoon. Well, he heard that voice of God calling to him, and he went in faith, not knowing what the end result was going to be. I mean, there wasn't any proof. There wasn't any piece of knowledge. There wasn't any book or plan that he could appeal to, but there was that calling upon his life that said, go, and he believed, and he trusted in God's promises, and then he was, 40, and 50, and 60, and 70, and 80, and 90, and then somewhere around the age of 100, it's kind of like, God Certainly it would be something that you had planned for or had expected. And yet we're told that even though there was all those other opportunities before that to make it happen, it wasn't until this great age that they are given a child, Isaac. Sometimes called the laughing boy, or he will laugh. I mean, kind of a joke in some ways. You would think. But they were rewarded for their faithfulness. They stuck it out. They held on. They clung to that faith. Oh, there were tough times. There were moments of doubt. There were places of uncertainty. But yet they clung on. And God ultimately blessed them. Faith in God is to trust that God is with us no matter what. Paul says, God himself, in the presence of Jesus Christ, lives within us. And that we now live by faith. That just as he was crucified, we are crucified. All that was before is gone. And now we live by the faith that comes to us for the very presence of God that is in our life right now. He's never far from us. He's never distant from us. He is with us right now. And he promises to be there no matter what. Even the good times and the joyous times and the moments of dancing in the streets of glory. And in those moments when we look around and wonder, what next, oh Lord? What next? In the middle of the week after the first rainstorm came through, some of us were kind of wondering, they're calling for another. What do we do? What if it comes again? What if it hits? Will we, have even worse damage? We had to have faith that, okay, we got hit once, we'll do the best we can, and even if it hits, God is still God. God is still with us. We will get through. Sometimes in my life, I feel like that little kitty cat just hanging on and saying, God, I'm holding on right now. I can't let go. I'm trusting. I'm having faith that you are there. And then I hear those words that say, yes, I am there. I am in your life. Believe in me. Trust that I will strengthen you. Trust that I will be there for you. Not just in the times of joy and celebration. Those are the easy times. Everybody likes a wedding. Everybody likes a baptism. Everybody likes a special celebration in the life of the church. We all show up for homecoming. We all show up for the big dinner. We all show up for the banquet. That's the happy times in the life of the church. When the call goes out, hey, who's going to go down in the pit to clean out the muck? Many of us won't even begin to raise their hand. When the call goes out in the tough times, sometimes we hesitate to step forward because we're afraid, we're fearful, we wonder, will God be there? And he says, yes, I'll be there because I'm already there with you now. Seeking to strengthen you, to lift you up, to help you, to be present for you in those difficult times. Sometimes, though, and I know this changes the image slightly, but sometimes, though, for all the hanging on we do, God says, you got to let go. You got to release. You have to take a leap of faith to get to what it is I have in store for you. And I came across this story. It comes from about 35 years ago. And there's this incredible picture that goes with it. It's about the Sheridan family. They were living in Boston. They were kind of one of these sort of corner row house, and they live up in their bedrooms are up on the second floor. In the middle of the night, they're awoke and wake up. In the middle of the night, they wake up because they smell smoke. And the bottom of the house is on fire. And there's no way for them to get out. And it's mom and dad and two little kids. And the calls went out to the fire department. The fire department is doing its best to get there as quick as they can. But there is fear that they're not going to make it. And there's a crowd gathered at the bottom. And in this picture, you see the father, Mr. Sheridan, leaning out the window. And down below, you see the gathered crowd with their arms outstretched. And in the middle is the first of their two children hanging in space. Because you see the crowd that gathered said, trust us, have faith, we will catch your child. And not knowing what else to do, they had faith and trust, and literally tossed both of their children, one at a time, out the window to fall the 2 stories down to the waiting arms of the children, the waiting arms of the parents, families, the neighbors who were below. Now this story fortunately has a happy ending. Both the children are caught. They're in their mid-30s today. Both the mom and dad were able to get out. The fire truck arrived in time. But there's that moment there where they had to make a choice. They had to be willing to finally let go and say, God, I've held on, I've trusted, I've held on to my faith, but now I don't know what else to do, so I'm just going to take a leap. Just leap out there and trust that you are there for me. Trust that you will catch me. Trust that no matter what comes, you will be there. Sometimes we just have to let go. And like that child falling from the second floor down into the waiting arms of those gathered people, we have to have the faith that God will be there to catch us, to hold us, to see us through. Faith isn't faith until it's all you're holding on to. But sometimes even then, we have to let go and just trust. Trust that God will be there. Trust that God will be with us. Trust that no matter what, we will get to the other side. Thanks be to God.